family. I need to stand up for my children and their children to come. I want us to give a warm welcome to Dereleen James. She's from Eldos, people. Come on, give a warm welcome. You've seen her on the TV. She's the one that challenges our government. Come on, we're in a back up here. Come on, thank you, Dereleen. You've got the stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this amazing invite. Thank you to the previous speaker who just gave me 3 extra minutes. Thank you very much, Tracy. Thank you so much, Natalie, for extending an invite to me. I do not take it lightly. I'm exceptionally proud of the work that you have been doing. Every time I look at you, I just see you going from greater heights to greater heights, and you just keep doing amazing things. Thank you so much for being such an inspiration to me with everything that you are doing. And I wish you nothing but the best with this new venture that you are about to start. I want to say, someone said earlier on, start with what you have. Don't wait until it's ready. And that's God, your gift will just make room for you. And so there's nothing to worry about. Just start with whatever you have. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't have a chance to speak to Natalie either week and say to her friend, what exactly is it that you expect of me today? What do you want me to speak about? There's so much to talk about. Do you want me to share my own personal journey with addiction? Do you want me to speak about the Central Drug Authority? Would you like me to speak about SAIDs? What is it? Community activism. But I actually want to start this talk, and I just want to say to you, Proverbs 18 verse 16, a man's gift opens doors for him and brings him before great men. I want you to hold on to that. Now, 30 years ago when I started this journey, I didn't start this journey, it was accidental. I'm an accidental drug activist, community activist, where drugs, and I'm sure everyone knows the story by now. You've heard it on the radio, you've heard it on the television, me nagging on social media. I think most people know the Dereleen James story. And it started off basically a hopeless mother out there calling on government saying, please come and help me. I cannot handle what's happening at home. I don't know what to do with my drug-addicted son. I've tried everything in my power to help him, but as mothers, we weren't given a manual on how to deal with children who are at risk and children who challenges us daily. And back then, I thought, you know what? If only, people said back then, if only you can put him in a private school, and I'm going to skip a lot of stuff, so I'm just going to share a little bit of nuggets here and there. People said, if only all of any community aid and put him in a private school, and back then he was only 13. And I thought that would help because the influence is in this community, and I took him and I enrolled him at a private school, and a few weeks later he was selling for the very transport that was taking him to school, and he was expelled. Because who wants to have a druggie at their school? And then people said, you know what, have him arrested. Die kan moet net toegesluit word, and then he's going to listen. And what did I do? I called some of the cops in my community that I'm familiar with, and I said, don't you just want to come the one night and maybe just give him a good hiding? Because he's been raised without a father, he needs to just get that fatherly hiding. That's going to make him stop. And I paid the cop 300 rand or 500, I cannot remember, and the guy there gave him a beating of his life in his room, and he walked out there and I walked back in there, and when I walked in, my boy had a blue eye, and I thought, what a ma do die. And even though it pulled on my heartstrings, but I needed to do because I've tried everything. I just needed to do, and you know what people advise me, I've got absolutely nothing to lose. And life carried on, and people said, you know what, take him to the best rehab, and that was the first rehab that I took him to, and the best rehab obviously costs money, and I was standing in Nazim's office that day, and I emptied out my bank account, and I called on my boss, and I said to him, please can you give me an advance on my salary? And he gave me an advance, and I paid, and I thought, you know what, this is probably the end of it. The best rehab, the best doctors, this is going to work, it's the end of my problems. 2 weeks later, back in the community, he relapsed, he was back at it. With every relapse and with him coming home, it meant smashing the windows, stealing from us, all the stuff that goes with addiction. And I don't think I have to tell anyone seated here what goes with addiction if you're from a community and if you're familiar on what happens when a family member is addicted to drugs. I find that a lot of people want to listen to these stories purely because they want to listen to those stories, where you say, I cannot believe that, a son would beat up his own mum, or a son would rape his own mother, like the Ellen Pakis who's on drugs. And we often have to stand in the front here and share a lot of shame. And because those are the stories that people like listening to. But the story that I want to share with you today is a story of hope and a story of victory. A story that should inspire you. I want to say to you, the once hopeless mother is no longer that hopeless mother. What the devil has set up and what he thought would destroy me, has basically paved its way, and I'm now serving and I'm walking in my passion. Through my son's addiction, I found passion and I found purpose in life. Yes. I want to inspire you that whatever you are going through, and this is why, thank you so much, and this is why it's so important to have such platforms. Thank you so much, Natalie, because it gives us an opportunity to share those hardships and those journeys with people like yourself, and to remind you that wherever you're at today, you don't have to stay there. God is testing you. God has placed you. God has given you that trial. God has given you that hardship, and He's given it to you so that you're able to master it. Many years ago, I thought that, with this battle, I need to call on the then former President Jacob Zuma, and he's going to be the end to my problems. And I wrote that letter in 2013, and I said, Dear Dad, it is now up to you to come to Eldorado Park and all surrounding communities, and you need to do whatever, have interventions and come to the aid of many mothers like myself. And you know what? The President responded. It was the first time the President responded to an ordinary citizen like myself with his entire cabinet, when ministers and everyone came out to a community. On that day, on that week, I think I was sleepwalking. I didn't realize really, die is mos die president wat kom. I don't know what I was thinking. I think back then it was just, get this boy off drugs. I didn't care who you were. I didn't absorb, I didn't internalize that this was the first citizen of the country. The night before he came, I had people coming to my door and saying, don't want to tell the president this. Please push this organization. This is what my business can do. And I had a box full of presentations and proposals from the community. And people came and they said, please represent us to the best of your ability. We may never ever get this opportunity again. And right there, I felt so much pressure because I thought, I don't know anything about this community. All I want, ek soek net die kind van die drugs af. There's nothing else. And people said, okay, if you're not able to do it, give it to someone else. Let someone else speak on your behalf. And I almost did that, but I thank God I did not. And I went up and I just spoke and I just shared what it's like living with someone that is on substance. The president came, he went, there was a 3-month short-lived intervention. I then thought, I need to get hold of the people who serves and who actually advises the president, and the people who actually directs and rolls out the National Drug Masterplan of our country. Those people that serves at national level, because there's representation from all the national departments in that body. And I thought, as ek maar net 'n meeting kan kry met een van hulle. And I never ever got it. And in a newspaper clipping, I cut out and all their faces with their Central Drug Authority. These are the people that's responsible for the implementation of the National Drug Masterplan in the country. And they advise the President and Parliament and the Minister. And guys, years later, your gift shall make room for you. I didn't know where I was going to get money. I didn't know how I was going to sustain my family. I eventually left my job because people used to come to my wall and sit outside and say, Auntie, do you help us with the drugs? And I didn't know. All I did was start with what you have. All I did was put them in my car and take them to the rehab. I didn't assess them. I didn't know about, you must assess how long, what they're using, how old they are. I didn't know any of that. I started with what I had, with what I had. I want to say that years later, I now serve on the Central Drug Authority at national level. I now am that person that advises Parliament, that advises the President and the Minister on efforts on everything pertaining to substance use disorder, not in Eldorado Park, but in our country. Your gift, Natalie, your gift shall make room for you. Yes. Did I know what I was getting myself into? No, I did not. Did I have what it takes? Did I have the skill set? Did I have the degree? Did I have any connections in any high places? No, I did not. Was I obedient to God's call upon my life? Yes, I was. Did I endure hardship? Yes, I did. Through that hardship, I left my job, and there were many nights I didn't know where the next loaf of bread was going to come from. And at one stage, I was called by the US Embassy, and they said, "We have heard you, we have seen you, we've heard all your ranting and raving on social media, and we have identified you as one of South Africa's potential leaders, and we'd like to groom you. So we'd like to send you on a visit to 5 states in America that focuses on at-risk youth, where you can visit different NGOs, you can visit the Senator's office." Barack Obama, it was the Barack Obama program back then. And guys, that night, I boarded a plane, and on that plane, probably people thought, "Yo, die vrou het baie geld, sy gaan nou Seattle toe, sy gaan Washington DC toe, sy gaan Denver toe, sy gaan Colorado toe." Quite a few states, so she has a lot of money. And as I was sitting on that flight, the tears were rolling, because just before, my daughter had called me, and my son was acting up at home, and I was thinking, shouldn't I go back home? He lost it, my family by the huis, with all that drama, and yeah, I'm continuing. That's so unfair. And I look back today, had I stayed in my job, I would have never been able to travel and to learn as much as what I've learned. I would have never had enough money to travel and visit all those states and equip myself with the knowledge that I now have, that I can bring back to my country to implement and to roll out in South Africa. I want to go back and I want to say, your gift shall make room for you. Last year I applied to serve on my second board nationally, and I thought, with all the noise that I'm making in Eldorado Park, because our youth, not only in Eldos, in many other communities, are being gunned down daily as a result of drugs. People think that clearly mense ons is drugs and gangsterism. We are not drugs and we are not gangs. We are so much more than that. And it's time we change that narrative. And we set out and we had a camp outside SAPS. You've probably seen us ranting and raving on television. And ons het buitekant die poliestasie geslaag vir 100 dae. On the 20th of December, we then moved into a building, and we're now busy with phase 2 of our protest against government for not rendering services to our community, and which is the legal route that we're taking. And I was doing all of that, and I thought, there's no way with me attacking government every other day and saying that you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing, what you are mandated to do in our communities. There's obviously no way that I'm going to get this post that I've applied for. I want to say again, your gift shall make room for you.
Come on.
In December, I got a letter from the Minister Natie Ntetwa saying that I've been appointed to serve on this board. Ladies and gentlemen, as long as you remain true to your truth and yourself, your truth, no one else's truth, own your truth, own your power, do not be mediocre about anything you do. Know that, you know what, if you are a kingdom's child, as jy die Here se kind is, only the best. Don't compromise, stand up for that which you believe in. I want to say that my son is 8 years, I have my daughter at the back there, she's just given birth and she's here with her baby. I'm a grandmother of a 1-month-old baby. So I want to say that through all of this, through all the rehabs and everything else, it never worked until I had to pick myself up and I had to start projecting wellness. I had to start projecting, I had to start brushing my hair, putting on my makeup, because I used to sleep and scream and shout and swear and curse. I became an addict myself. And until I fixed my life, and I swiped my duke and I put on my lipstick unapologetically. I was mirroring wellness to my son. And today he's 8 years clean. And God continues to use us in all communities just to be the light. I want to encourage you, if you have someone that is battling with substance use disorder, it is a disease, it is treatable, that person can get help. It's not the end of the road. The change starts with you. Yes. God bless you and thank you so much for this opportunity.
Come on, your gifts will make room.